Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, or Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim in Atlanta, and the inspiration for this lesson came from Apostle Gabar's lesson from yesterday. And in that lesson that he did, he was looking at Vocab Malone's video and the guy that he had on there, and how he was trying to prove that Christmas is actually a true Christian celebration, when in fact it's not. It's idolatry, and it's of pagan origins, which you might as well say, when you're saying pagan, it's just heathens. They're outside of the temple, outside of the covenant. But that got me to thinking about how out of touch Christians are because of the council, or just thinking of the Council of Nicea. This is common knowledge that the Council of Nicea combined pagan beliefs with Christian beliefs, or with the Bible. And the vast majority of the understanding and beliefs and the traditions that they carry out, these Christians, it's all pagan, and it's fake, and it's not the truth, and there's no salvation in it whatsoever, added on to the scripts and taken away from it. And so they're going to be removed from it. And so I've got this article pulled up from the Jerusalem Post. Came out in 2017. It says how the Council of Nicea intensified anti-Semitism and a Bible ban. And we're not going to read through all of this because it's mostly Amalek being a victim, or trying to be a victim, but some good things are said. And so we're going to come down a little bit and start right here. Yeah. So it says the Nicene Council set the new imperial religion on the wrong track, and that being Christianity. It says it condemned Sabbath keeping, because now they keep it on the day of the sun, on Sunday, or pretend like they're keeping it because they're not actually keeping it, because it goes with the moon. And it says, and established what Constantine called the Venerable Day of the Sun. And that goes into the cult of Mithras and Sol Invictus, Solinvictus, I want to say. Because these are sun worshippers, and they worship the signs in the heavens and not the true power. And that's what you are as a Christian. You are an idolater. And it says sun worship had been part of Roman worship since the collapse of the classical pantheon in the first centuries. It also banned the Passover and substituted the pagan Easter. And when you go into the scriptures and look up Easter, that word there is Pesach, and that's going into the Passover. But Christians celebrate Easter, which is the celebration of Ashtar, which goes back to Queen of Heaven worship. Like, you're really celebrating Semiramis. You're not celebrating anything that has to do with the scriptures. Moving down a little bit, because we're not going to go fully into this, because we don't want to hear Amalek's victim mentality, which Amalek being those small hatters, those 1948ers who claim to be the Lord's people, but they really go back to Amalek. They are children of Esau. It says, from the 1st to 3rd centuries, Roman imperial religious Caesars wanted to extirpate Christianity by deaths, slavery, or by disinformation. If the Roman authorities could not kill Christianity, the next best thing was to assimilate it into the pagan system of the College of Pontiffs. And that is exactly what this revised Roman Empire has done. They assimilated their pagan beliefs into the Bible, but it has nothing to do with the Bible. And that's why we're going into this too, showing the Council of Nicea and showing that Christianity has been corrupted all along. And Constantine, just to go back, Constantine actually was a Jake. He was an Israelite. And we were going off. We started all this stuff, and throughout the Dark Ages worshipped false Christianity. And that's more reason on why we had to go into the slavery and into the punishments that we received. He says, if the Roman authorities would not kill Christianity, the next best thing was to assimilate it into the pagan system of the College of Pontiffs. Constantine was now Pontifex Maximus, the supreme pontiff, ruler of all religious cults, and that's exactly what Christianity is. The popes took up this title that Constantine's successors abandoned as offensive to the Most High. In Rome, then a provincial backwater to Milan, paganism still held sway among the old families. Rome depended for its continuation on maintaining a sufficient number of Vestal virgins. Its Senate met in the temple of Jupiter Capitolinus. These beliefs in the pagan trinity and the virgin births of the demigod shed strongly influenced the doctrines and theology of the Latin-speaking church. And so you also see this is where the virgin birth madness comes from, and that trinity that the Christians are always speaking of. This is all pagan ideology. And really, if you're a Christian, you're gonna fall and be destroyed with Christianity, because that's not the true worship at all. You've been lied to. We've all been lied to, but you are holding on to it if you're a Christian still. It says, it was among the first to abandon the Passover for Easter in the 2nd century. Its citizens generally knew no Greek. The Latin translations varied in accuracy. The Hebrew scriptures were banned. Could Rome create its own NT Latin canon, New Testament? It says Rome then despised Greek and wanted to exterminate all Hebrew speakers, Jewish and Christian. Paul wrote to the original believers in Rome in Greek, not Latin. The canon was not an issue at Nicea. Evidence: in 331, Constantine commissioned 50 Bibles for the church in Constantinople. The dispute about the canon arose decades after. By then, further confusion and rivalry had occurred. For several centuries, the empire had been victims of fraudulent gospels and writings. Each group opposed the other in saying which books should be added or which generally accepted books should be deleted, because it spoke against their own pet heresies. The result was logjam. It was impossible for a body of pagans and delusioned sectarians to add to the existing Bible or diminish it. They resigned themselves to recognizing the already established canon of the people they had killed, expelled, or enslaved. The accepted books of the canon had been treasured and expounded for centuries in the faithful congregations around the empire and beyond. And so you see, this is a really basic understanding of history. I learned it in 4th grade about the Council of Nicea. These so-called Christian apologists, they're scholars, they're pastors, and whoever that are still trying to say that Christian is actually biblical, or Christmas is actually biblical, and Easter is actually biblical, and the Trinity is biblical, and the virgin birth is biblical. I'll even throw hell doctrine in there. These are all those scholars and pastors and apologists. They are all liars. None of them will receive salvation unless they come out of it and they're actually Israelites in the first place. And the people that they're leading will not receive salvation unless they come out of it, or unless the Lord snaps them out of it and gives them the true gospel. But what they are worshiping is a complete lie. It's a complete fraud. It's this modern form of Christianity as it is today, with white Jesus and these people in the land that are not the actual people. That's all. It's all a form of Edomite supremacy and trying to say that Esau can be saved. It's apologetics for the Edomites, and it's not biblical. And these people are about to catch it for what they've been saying. But going back to that Sol Invictus, I pulled up an article on that, and this is from the Big Think, bigthink.com. And we're going to skip down in this one too, because we need to read about Sol Invictus. It says the origins of Sol Invictus. Roman history knows two sols. Worship of the first, Sol Indiges, was limited to the eternal city itself, a god of agriculture. Their first temple, located on the Coronal Hill, is said to have been built by the Sabine king Tatius, the legendary rival turned ally of Rome's equally legendary founder Romulus. The cult of Sol Indiges survived into the Republican and early imperial periods. Augustus constructed temples for them. Vespasian converted a giant statue of Nero into the god by adding a crown. Commodus, the son of Marcus Aurelius, added Sol's name to his own. As the borders of the empire expanded, the eternal city became a melting pot of different cultures. And that's what the elders and apostles of GMS always say about Rome, that it was a melting pot, very similar to what Babylon the Great is, aka America. And it says Italian traditions mingled with those of Africa and Asia Minor, and Sol Indiges combined with an Eastern sun deity to become Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. During the 3rd century AD, this second Sol gradually evolved from a god into the god of Rome. The emperor Elagabalus, who was raised in Syria, placed every god worshipped within Rome, including Jupiter, under the umbrella of the sun god, one of many provocations that would anger the Roman elites and eventually lead to his assassination at the hands of the Praetorian Guard. But because I wanted to get to how these are combined. I think it's here in Light and Fire. It says the transition from Sol Invictus to, and I'm going to just say it verbatim because that's who they're talking about. It's not talking about Yahushua, because Yahushua is not an idol. It says the transition from Sol Invictus to Jesus Christ is best documented in archaeological finds. In 1953, researchers began digging underneath St. Peter's Basilica, built under Constantine, in hope of finding its namesake's tomb. Although they didn't find St. Peter, they did stumble across the bodies of various pagans and Christians. In particular, one Christian tomb was decorated with a mosaic that portrayed Christ as Sol Invictus. So you see, this Jesus Christ that you're worshiping now it's all goes back to paganism. This loves everybody and forgives everyone for everything they've done and doesn't hate anyone, would never hurt a fly. That guy, that's Sol Invictus. Because our power, he loves and he hates. He's complete balance, and he's going to save the elect. And this Jesus character is not going to save anyone. He actually condemns you for you believing on him, condemns you. It says, encircled by a rayed nimbus and riding a chariot. Actually, where do we go? Salakia. It says, in particular, one Christian tomb was decorated with a mosaic that portrayed Christ as Sol Invictus, encircled by a rayed nimbus, riding a chariot. Identification with the sun god may also be preserved in biblical passages describing Christ and God in relation to light and fire. Yeah, that's some pagan stuff. Even Christmas, which is what the Christians just celebrated, can be traced back to the cult of Saul. In contrast to the festive Romans, the death-oriented Christians didn't celebrate birthdays. And that's correct. The birthdays are not an Israelite tradition or custom. It says especially not for gods. And, you look it up in the Bible and you don't see anywhere where it's telling you to celebrate the birth of the Messiah. It says, we men gather our vintages, and they think and believe that the gods gather and bring in their grapes, wrote Arnobius, a Christian apologist from the 3rd century. We have birthdays, and they affirm that the powers of heaven have birthdays. Most early Christians didn't discuss the birth of Christ. Those who did made no reference to the date or offered conflicting dates. Historians link the advent of Christianity to Sol Invictus, partly because December 25th marked the so-called Feast of the Unconquered Sun, before it became officially recognized as the birthday of Christ. So as you see, these things were melded together, but if you want to worship the Most High, you can't be melding these pagan ideologies into the Bible. It says the cult of Sol originally started holding the feast on December 25th because it coincided with the winter solstice. Pagans celebrate that. The time of the year when daylight starts to lengthen again. Theologians settled on the date not just because of the solstice. December 25th was also exactly 9 months removed from what they deemed the anniversary of creation, giving the Messiah's life a regularity befitting of his divine nature. And look right here, it says Rome reborn. And we're actually going to stop right here. But, yeah, needed to go into the Council of Nicea because these people, these Christians, can't understand that they've been lied to. And it's really easy to see if you have the eyes and the ears to see and hear. But these Christians are blinded, and we have to keep telling them that they are completely and totally wrong. So let's get into the scriptures. Actually, we will start there. Jeremiah 16 and 19. And it says, O Lord, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. Because we're going to call him that name, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, in the day of trouble that is fast approaching. It says, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth. And it says the ends of the earth right there, because this is speaking of Israelite foreigners and the dispersion, because the Lord's going to gather us from all the four corners of the earth as we've been scattered to him. But the scriptures are manyfold. And so it's also talking to the natural Gentiles and how they have been lied to as well. We've all been lied to, and the finger points back to Esau, Edom, because they are in the power seat right now. Esau, Edom being self-proclaimed white people, and those small hatters, the 1948ers. And it says, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. And that's what they have inherited. None of these things are actually true. As it says, the gods of the nations are idols, and they truly are. If you come up in Christianity, you've inherited lies. If you come up in Islam, you have inherited lies. In whatever those small hatters practice, you have inherited lies. In Buddhism, and so on and so forth, those are all lies. There's only one truth. And if you're going off from that truth, even if you're holding the Bible and going off from that truth, it is no truth at all. It is a lie. Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Just going off. And they don't even care. They just keep going off. Because this has been said over and over and over again. And I'm sure they even went over the Council of Nicea in grade school and don't even think about how that makes it false, how that makes it idolatry. With just, they think they can hold the Bible and practice idolatry and everything will be fine and they'll actually be saved. But if you're outside of the elect, there's no possibility for you to be saved. And there's no possibility, if you're outside of Israel, that you're going to be speaking the truth of the Bible and of the prophecies. It's just frustrating. But this is John 4 and verse 22. It says, "You worship ye know not what." Because that's the majority of these people. They're just doing what their fathers did and what their fathers before them did, or what their mothers have told them, or what Big Mama told them. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just walking around spewing lies. It says, "We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews." We do know what we worship. It all, line upon line, precept upon precept, matches up. The prophecies match up. Through thy precepts I get understanding. And we know this is the truth. We don't need any scholars or apologists or pastors or anyone of this world to tell us that we have the truth. We know we have the truth. And that salvation's only for Israel. They don't know that because they don't know the truth, and they can't go line upon line. And they don't look at these words to see what's under these words. Like a simple one is Easter. And you just look into that word and you know that you should actually be celebrating the Passover and not celebrating Ashtar. But they'll never do that. It says, "But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth." Those true worshipers being the elect of the nation of Israel. And you got to worship in spirit and in truth. It has to be the truth. Otherwise, you're putting yourself up for judgment. It says, "For the Father seeketh such to worship him. The Most High is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth." So there's no, I'm worshiping the Most High, but I'm also worshiping Sol Invictus, which, just because you don't know it or you're ignorant to it doesn't mean that you're safe and that you'll receive salvation. You have to worship him in truth. And the truth is, Christianity is a complete and total lie. Their holidays are complete and total lies, just idolatry. Their doctrine is complete and total lies. They've incorporated pagan customs and beliefs and doctrines into what they call Christianity, and it is a complete and total lie. But had to go into Council of Nicea, Lord willing, that was edifying, and I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.